I wanted to talk to you about one more reading strategy that you're going to learn this week and practice for the next 3 weeks, and that is making connections. And you're probably thinking, well, Sister Baird, all the reading strategies that you've taught already have been about making connections. It's true. That is true. But we're going to look at it as making connections with yourself, what you've already learned before. So, how to make connections, there's 3 different types. There's text to self, text to text, and text to world. So, as you're reading, sometimes your brain may think, oh, I remember I had an experience similar to what I'm reading about. Or, hey, sometimes you're reading and you think, hey, I remember reading about something similar. Or text world is when I'm reading, this reminds me of an event that I saw in the news, or something that happened in history, or something along those lines. And why do we make these kind of connections? It really helps us to connect with the new material that we're learning, and it helps our brains to retain all that new information. When we make those connections, it really helps. So think of the Come Follow Me curriculum and all those pondering questions that they give us each week. It's to help us make those connections with the scriptures that we're reading. Helps us to think about experiences that we've had, other scriptures or conference talks or articles or anything else that we've read, or what happened in the scriptures before compared to what's happening in the world today. Those kind of connections and Come Follow Me. We can also make those connections with anything that we read in our certificate classes and classes for our associate's degrees or bachelor's degrees. And the more connections you make, then the more you're going to retain that information. You're going to remember it. So, of course, I have our steady 3 examples of a web page, a textbook, and a novel. So for a web page, we're back here at our same web page, web design for multiple audiences, how to identify and define visitor segments. So as I go through this, and I think you're probably thinking, well, Sister Baird, how could you even make any connections with that? But like I showed with inferences, I made a connection with what do I already know. So I think about what do I already know? I know about multiple audiences. What I learned in my previous class of Introduction to Web Design. So that would be text to text. And it's when I talk about different visitor groups. This right now it might be text to text, what I've already learned in a previous class by reading, maybe a little bit of experience that I've had in designing a website, a little web page I did in that class. So that would be text to self. But as I go through and learn a little bit more about all of these different segments, visitor segments, and maybe I'm thinking about maybe other businesses and their websites and how do they define visitor segments? What do they categorize the people who visit their websites? What are they looking at? So if I can kind of think of, maybe a website that could be popular, maybe like Amazon. They've got all different kinds of visitor segments. And so I'm relating that text to world. When we get to our textbook, you're going to use your previewing. Again, all the reading strategies you had before. Let's look at So morality and law. Okay, so I have a headline here, and I've got some bolded, looks like some vocabulary words, statutes, administrative regulations, common law, and constitutional law. An action can be illegal but morally right. Interesting. So, this is something where I can really think about text to self. Have I ever done something that was illegal, but it was the right thing to do? Have I ever read about something that was illegal, but it was the right thing to do? Or has that ever happened somewhere else in the world, even throughout history, where something was illegal, but it was the right thing to do? One example I can think of is the Declaration of Independence for the United States. The people who signed the Declaration of Independence, they were committing treason against England. So it was illegal what they were doing, but it was the right thing to do. So that's a text to world connection that I just made right here. So you don't have to make all three connections with everything that you read, but try to make some connection with what you read. Let's go to our novel, 5 Feet Apart. As I'm reading through this, Stella likes to be in control. And Will Newman just wants to get out of the hospital. So this could be a text to self type connection. I can remember when I was 16, 17, I thought I had total control over everything and wanted everything to be exactly my way. So I could probably really do text to self connection with Stella Grant. But like I mentioned in the other reading strategy video, I have teenage boys, so I understand Will Newman's attitude as well. Just get out, wants to be reckless. I deal with that with some of my boys as well. So that would be a text to self. It could also be a text to world, even though I'm thinking about my sons, it's kind of my little micro world here in my family, but that would be text to world. It's not me personally. So there's some connections that I could make with this novel. Anyway, I just wanted to share this reading strategy with you. I hope that you continue to preview, that you continue to make inferences, that you continue to question, and now that you make connections. Try to use these reading strategies when you read anything, and like I said before, also take notes in everything that you read. Just get in that habit. So I hope these strategies and habits are going to serve you well as you study for your certificate and continue on until your bachelor's.